Welcome to the Your Living Proof podcast. If you love someone struggling with addiction and are searching for answers, we're so glad you found us. Families are the cornerstone of long-term recovery, yet they often go unsupported. Our mission is to strengthen and support this vital but often overlooked part of the addiction recovery process. We're here to help families understand what their role is and isn't in this journey. Addiction deceives and takes everything you're willing to give, but if you know better, you can do better. And we're here to help you do just that. If you're asking, how can I help my addicted loved one? This is your community.
If you enjoy watching podcasts, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. For more support and resources between episodes, follow us on Instagram at Your Living Proof or visit our website at yourlivingproof.com. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode. Not just another episode. If you're watching on YouTube, look, can you see these?
You need to go to YouTube.
You just missed my funny face. Episode 100.
I seriously can't believe it. And I don't know. It made me get teary this morning, which is so weird. But I was like, it's a big deal to record 100 episodes of one singular topic.
I'm looking at it as a milestone of our marriage and our relationship. We've survived.
Hey, that's actually also a really important note.
Everyone out there knows how hard it is to survive in a marriage, period. But then when you work together, like we do life together with our children, then we have us, and then we have trying to work together.
And to be fair, the podcast, the idea behind the podcast when we were getting started was not to have both of us. It was to have Danny. Just Danny talking.
But then I realized there was a strategy. You put a gorgeous woman next to you. I think it boosts your views. I think it kind of increases your credibility.
We didn't have any YouTube channels at the beginning, so yeah.
So anyway. She is in her fancy pink, looking fresh today.
Fancy pink.
I'm distracted, just so you know. Like, I do have underlying issues of ADHD. It's okay. I've learned to live with it. But looking at her is very distracting, so I'm going to remain focused. But you guys, this is episode 100.
We have cookies. We have balloons. We have
a safe place to fight
weather.
If we have to. We have padded walls. I just want to say, most of all, thank you. Thank you to everyone out there who supported this, who shared our podcast, who's found guidance, who's found tools and support here that they couldn't find anywhere else. I'm just so grateful. I can't even truly express the depths of my gratitude, but thank you. This is what we wanted this to become. We wanted it to become the most legitimate source of support, education, and helping these families. There are millions of them. Most of the families are remaining still in secrecy, by the way.
Yeah. And so hopefully you enjoyed our new intro to the podcast.
Yeah, that's something new.
And truly what we hope with this next chapter, with our next 100, is that we continue to grow and that you continue to share this. That's where the real power is when we share with each other things to help. Because if you're struggling with something, I guarantee you know 5 people in your circle that are actually struggling with the same thing, but maybe they haven't had the courage to talk about it yet. So the more we vocalize it and share resources with each other, the more we help.
Amen.
Everyone around us.
So grateful. This is so exciting. Spring's in the air. We have an incredible event coming up, a gala for our foundation.
Yes, we can't wait. April 12th.
A lot of exciting things. We're just increasing our community and empowering more families so that we can change these terrible statistics surrounding addiction.
Yep.
There isn't one solution. I will say that, and I think I may have said it before. There isn't, unfortunately, one solution that helps everyone, because there are a lot of people stuck in addiction that don't have a good family that can help. They actually come from pretty toxic environments. There's a separate issue there.
Yeah.
But there are so many millions like me and all the others I've come to know. Their family's great. Are we perfect? Heavens, no. Perfectly imperfect. But their family's amazing, wanting to help, standing there on the sidelines going, what do we do? So we are going to help more of those families learn exactly what it is and isn't that they're supposed to be doing. So, wow, let's get into it.
Yeah. Well, and I do just want to say that I was teasing Danny earlier today that he was a pioneer. I'm like,
no, I'm going to read the text. I'm going to read the text. How would you interpret this text? I'm serious.
Yeah,
How
he
would
was confused.
Because she does this a lot. She'll say things and I'm like, wait, I don't understand. And I'm like, I don't think I'm the only one who doesn't understand. But she says, okay. I'd sent a message. It said how much I love you and I see you and I see all the things you're doing. I'm grateful for you. And she said, oh, I'm grateful for you too. I never thought I would marry a pioneer. I always thought more of like a thug, but here we are. I'm dead serious. You can see it. See that? Oh, you can't see it in the camera.
More reasons to tune in on YouTube.
As a man, she's like, I married a pioneer. I actually thought I was going to marry more of a thug, but here we are. How would you interpret that? It kind of feels like you got punched in the gut. That's how I felt. But she went on further to salvage what she said.
Let me clarify. Let me clarify what I meant by that. I meant he is pioneering. We are pioneering the effort to change the way we approach as a community addiction. We are no longer accepting this idea that you just focus on the one sick person, throw them into rehab, and that's going to change the outcome. No, we're not okay with it. We want to address the underlying issues. We want to address those that are around them. We want to actually heal the entire system that exists around that person. Why? Because it's the only way to get the results that everybody actually wants. And we're pioneering it because guess what? Everyone in the world would rather take a pill and then not be depressed.
Oh yeah, you can go get a punch card for ketamine treatments or take other prescriptions.
We all are guilty of it. We all want the quicker fix. This isn't the quick fix. It isn't. It's a very different approach. It's a long-term approach. It is a gut-wrenching approach, but it is effective. It's
a very effective. It's extremely effective.
So you're a pioneer. It was a compliment. I was picturing like
okay, let's just move on.
She
just move on. She tried, but we'll take it for what it is. I wish we weren't pioneering
Little House
it.
on the Prairie.
Guess what? Treatment centers are opening faster than 7-Elevens these days because there's such a demand. But the statistics of those who stay in recovery is so dismal. And this is the solution to how we significantly increase the percentage of people who start recovery and stay there is we empower the greatest threat in the world to addiction, which is you, the family. So last thing I'm going to say before we get going, if you've been doing this for a while, looking into it, thinking it, listening to the podcast, considering this with your family, here is this is your call out. Stop doing it alone. Stop going at this alone. Get help and support to allow you to do what you haven't been able to do and what you've been trying to do on your own for a while. Okay, we're getting into this. I just want to share a few things. We're just having a candid conversation today, but I really want to explain the why. I'm not here to tell my story. If you've heard my story, great. You knew how bad things got. It got really bad. Really bad. And we could talk about it, and we've already done that. I don't want to focus on that. It progressed to a point it should have never progressed to or didn't need to because, unfortunately, no one in my life knew what to do, and all of a sudden it got really bad. Well, then we were forced to do something about it. Families can learn to effectively intervene way before it gets to that point. But often that's what it takes for families to take some action. So either way, stop doing it alone and let's change the situation. Why do I do this? Why is it that I'm speaking to people who don't really understand addiction, haven't dealt with addiction? They aren't dealing with it themselves. It's because I genuinely love your son, your daughter, your husband. I understand where they are. And although our paths were different that led us to where we got to, it ends up the same. That we actually end up losing our ability to choose. Even though every day we want something different, we can't. And we're stuck and we're waiting for someone or something to help us. Mm-hmm. So I love them. And I know that their only way out Unfortunately, for some, is death. For others, it's a judge that steps in. And for a lucky few, it's the family who learns how to do this. That's my why. I want to share a story that just happened recently. I shared this in our community during our private groups this week. So any of you listening in, sorry if you have to hear this again, but it's a powerful example that explains the why. So recently a woman reached out to me. Just for context, I had worked with her, I think probably about 2 years ago, briefly, right? People start the process. Sometimes they start and they disengage. Other times they get involved, and believe it or not, that's when the magic happens. Mm-hmm. I'd worked with her briefly. She was unable at the time, because things were so chaotic and crazy with the situation with her son, that she was unable to see her role in this and how necessary it was. It was literally putting out fire after fire, and she was just consumed by it. So flash forward about 2 years later, I want to just give a little explanation of the conversation. Her son died, and she went on to tell me, I'll how do you say shorten it?
Brief?
I'll give you the brief summary. Her son died, and she wanted me to know how grateful she was that he died in her home instead of out on a cold street. It was in her home, that she was the one that found him, and that even days prior, building up to that, like she was the one that was feeding him, even helping him to get cleaned up and bathed because he wasn't, right? Like it's down to that terrible part of the journey, that she was doing these things, right? And I'm sure doing them felt
loving.
But she wanted me to know how grateful she was that it happened in her home. She was even able to wrap him around in one of the blankets that she made. And I felt that she was really intentionally trying to help me understand, like, I loved him. And I don't think she was telling me this as like a way of pushing back against me or what we had kind of worked on, but making sure that I knew. Mm-hmm. And I don't know all the details of her life, but I know enough to recognize what happened during the years of his progression of his addiction, that it strained their marriage to where they didn't even live together, her and her husband. There were other children in her life, adult children, some of whom with grandchildren, who had to remove themselves. They, for one reason or another, either to feel safe or even the resentments that they had built, had disconnected their relationship with mom. Mm. So what I saw was a woman who had aged, had gained some weight, had pushed everyone else away in her life, and who held her son that died in her home and recognized all of that as love. I hope in that story, and if I told it well enough, that you can see. Can you see the deception there? That each act, like if you're even sponge bathing someone, that act of love. If you're feeding someone who's not feeding themselves, that act of love. How deceiving it can be in that moment that is love. But I hope some of you clearly see that is not love. And that's my why. That is my why, is families are getting pulled down into a place where that feels like the right thing to do. And you know what? Everything else that we're trying to teach and empower and help families to do feels wrong. It feels unloving. It feels mean. If we are not able to overcome some of these feelings, to see how deceiving that is and what it does to families, people are going to end up in that same situation where they die inside of a family's home. Whether it's in your home or not, you go down with them. And we can't allow that to happen. We've got to give more people a chance to change. I'm so grateful that it happened in my life, that my family, as bad as it got to a point in their own spiritual journey where they had tools, they had support from someone else, that they were okay with that. Mm-hmm. If that was to happen. But they had learned to speak to the disease. They had learned what solutions looked like. They learned what their role was and wasn't in that process. That's my why, is I cannot allow any other women, mothers, especially wives, husbands, fathers, to be in a position where they feel like that was love.
That is such a powerful story. And actually, I wasn't in your group, so I didn't hear that previously.
Oh, you didn't hear the graphic side of it, right? Like when she found him, he had fentanyl patches all over him and he chewed him up in his mouth and like crazy stuff. But yeah.
I think it's really interesting because I think it's possible to be loved and not be able to feel it. And I also think it's possible to give love or what you think is love, like something loving, but actually not be delivering love, right? And I think that's the case here. It's like it felt loving, but it actually wasn't love.
You guys are all familiar with, there's people in your life, and it may be even part of your life, where individuals experience unfortunate circumstances like an accident, right? Where it affects their ability to walk. Or people get different illnesses that severely affect them, right? And there's a person doing the same thing that woman was.
Oh, yeah.
This is different. This is a fatal disease that they can actually completely heal from, but it's the only fatal disease where the people get sick with them. And it's the only fatal disease where the sick person's going to fight to stay sick. At least in other cases, if you're sponge bathing and feeding people and like basically carrying them around if you have to, they're grateful that you are. Mm-hmm. They're trying.
Yeah.
This is addiction, and it doesn't play by the rules. This is something different. We have to be able to separate those two.
Yeah.
And that's what our hope, what we said at the beginning, like we're pioneering something new, is to see this for what it is and give families the courage to allow way more people to have a chance. I just love it. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, that was just really powerful. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just going to give you my quick little addiction 101 tips. All the years that I was involved in my own recovery, what I had to go through, what my family had to go through, and everything I've learned as a professional these last several years doing this, working with so many families just like yours. You've probably heard these before, but you need to hear them again real quick. This is a 1-minute rundown. Someone or something has to intervene.
Speed dating.
Ooh, speed dating. Wow. Someone
learning.
or something has to intervene. If you think there's going to be a day when your loved one magically wakes up and this just course corrects, I'm sorry, it won't. You probably experienced that in life. Maybe others in your life have, and so you're waiting for them to do the same. It's not. This is different. The things that intervene, death, a judge, or you. But nobody, not one single person who experiences those three ever thought that it was going to happen to them.
No.
Stop waiting on the magical day that's not coming. Stop waiting on the magical day when your loved one looks around and is like, oh my gosh, you guys, this has gotten crazy. Like, I can't believe what I've done to you, what I've done to my own life. This wreckage has gotten high enough that I can see it. I'm going to do something different. Stop waiting. Stop waiting for a sick person to wake up and put together the plan that they need to heal. That's one of the biggest mistakes the world is making. Whether they're a grown man, 45 years old, or a young punk that's 19. Stop waiting for this person, this sick person, to figure out how to help themselves. I want you to think about how it changes from behavior to a disease of the brain. All right, we've come far enough in medical advancements and with addiction to understand that it is a disease. But I think for good people, especially those good Christian people, we always look at the underlying thing that we have a choice, right? Like it's a moral choice.
It's an agency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the best way to look at it. For one reason or another, your loved one made choices that you probably wouldn't have and others in your life wouldn't have. They did for one reason or another. Maybe it was trauma that started it, or maybe curiosity. But they did something they shouldn't have, and in the beginning, they made a poor choice. They kept making poor choices. Why? Because it actually felt good, made them feel happy, gave them what they couldn't find in life, so they kept making bad choices. There always is this shift. It evolves from choices to where it takes over them. This person you love, when you're sitting there waiting for them to make a better choice, you know them and you can clearly see they're unable to do that, or they would have done it a long time ago. So quit worrying about if you believe it's a brain disease or a choice. Just understand that the choices started and then the choice is ended, and now they are unable to do this. So if you can't get to the point where it is a brain disease and believe that, which it is, at least believe that you know this person, and if they could find their way out of this on their own, they would have.
Yeah.
Big point. Learn how to effectively intervene and what it's going to take for real recovery, right? Everyone tries to intervene. We have an episode. It's one of my favorites. Why your words don't matter. Why your words don't matter. Everyone has exhausted themselves either with like threats or persuading or even, I don't know, like giving them, bribing them to do something. Whatever efforts you have haven't worked. You have to learn how to effectively intervene and what that takes. Then you have to actually learn what a full program of recovery looks like. These treatment centers, they're such a high demand. They may not even have your loved one's best interest in mind because they're just churning and burning through so many people that you need to understand what real recovery is going to take, that it's hard. Most people aren't willing or wanting to do it. And you have a great influence on that. The way you approach it and how to do it, there's an enormous impact that you can have to ensure they get enough time to heal. You need to learn what your role is and isn't. Obviously, for, I don't know, probably longer than you'd like to imagine, you've been trying and you realize that your efforts haven't given you the results you want. So you need to learn what your role is and isn't. And then how doing all this gives your loved one their best chance. When you actually learn, you've heard the analogy, there's a dirty fish dying in a dirty fish tank. We take the little fish out, we clean them off, put them back in the same fish tank. Okay, we understand that doesn't work. But when you do this, when you get help and you change and your family gets professional help, you give your loved one the greatest chance at long-term recovery, without a doubt. A chance they would have never have or will never have on their own.
And if your fish tank is dirty, it's okay. Everyone's is.
Oh my gosh, they all are. This is actually, people in the program can attest to this. This is like the greatest opportunity. Even though it seems so horrible, it's like an opportunity to clean these tanks that maybe we wouldn't have had we not been through this. Yeah. But I have to sum it up by saying you doing this, again, even if they're not ready right now, is the most incredible thing because it removes your biggest fear. Everyone, when you say, what's your biggest fear with your loved one? Okay, what's your biggest fear with your loved one? That they're going to die from this.
Right.
It's a legitimate fear that everyone has. Some people are closer to it than others. Right? Some people start looking and going, oh, I guess that could be But when it gets to that point where people see it for what it is, that isn't your biggest fear. That's what we say and we recognize, but we can't even see it. For some of you can't even see it. That underneath there's a bigger fear that they will die and that you'll live with a lifetime of regret that you could have or should have done something different. That's why doing this is a win, no matter what. That you get to know that you did it, that you did everything you could have and should have done. And by doing so, it increases their chances drastically. So stop doing it alone. That's my little run through. I'm sorry that was more than 1 minute.
It was really fast, I thought.
Okay, good.
It was perfect.
But that's that. Can we talk about maybe some of our best moments real quick?
I'd love to.
Is there any of yours that pop to mind?
Some of my favorite episodes, like the Todd Sylvester episode was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
He's amazing. And if you haven't listened to that one, you definitely should. But, gosh, we've had a lot of really powerful ones. One
that's an old episode, way back in like the teens, was Learning to Live with Diarrhea.
Yes.
Which is a episode that's referred to a lot. We were kind of rookies back then, and so I think we should maybe redo that one a little bit.
Yeah, but it's amazing how many people will actually reach out and mention that episode. And it's, as crazy as it is like the most accurate analogy ever.
Yeah,
because such a good
most people,
episode.
when they finally reach out for help and they start talking about the situation, where they've come to is crazy. It's like they learned to high function with diarrhea, meaning their loved one, right? Like they've just not only learned to live with that gut-wrenching experience, but they're just living. And some of them are doing okay, but they've gotten accustomed to living with it every day.
I also love the one about Christ-centered families.
Yeah, Christ-centered families, and the difference between enabling and boundaries.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. There have been so many. Actually, I'd love to know what your favorite episodes are. If anybody wants to DM us and let us know what they are, I really am curious. Like, what are your favorites?
Yeah, please. And what's ironic is how many episodes we've had on the same topic allows us to see the many ways that families are manipulated.
Yes.
Because whether it's the fears that you believe, the things that you blame it on, it's whether you think this is a choice or a disease. There's so many episodes because families are picked off and manipulated in so many ways. Hence, there's so many episodes that help us all realize that.
It's really so true.
I just want to share some of my favorite moments since we've been doing this. I'm not going to give any details on it, but I've received multiple cards at Christmas or just randomly throughout the year where families will send me a photo, which is so fun that people still send a photo, celebrating the 1-year sobriety date with their sibling, their spouse, their child. And the value that is for me is not just to see the sick person, but to see the whole family standing alongside of them is just amazing. I've got to experience more than one, the wedding of individuals who were real close to death, who now have healed and recovered enough that they're entering in a relationship and starting to love someone other than themselves, right? Like, it's a beautiful thing to see.
Well, and to see their families, just like these moments like that are amazing personal accomplishments, but also just to see the unity and the love that is restored in that family unit. It's just, it's so
Well, and I had
cool.
a woman today in group who shared most beautiful family. And you know what? After so many years of one of the members of their family their addiction just ragdolling the family in little ways, the family came together and finally all rallied around and clearly with love addressed the issue, put together a plan, and just I've lost count how many times I've heard families do that, and it's so special to me. When something that was causing a divide, causing some tension, causing turmoil in a family is now addressed from a place of love, a place of education, and a plan. That is the most beautiful thing. But there's so many others. Like there's a family I worked with, and they've done really hard. Their loved one, their son, is still functioning in his addiction somehow, and his sister has been inspired to like go into this line of work and wrote a beautiful poem about the situation they're in and what she's learned through her brother's experience, and to see how powerful and strong her relationship is with her parents because of this, and despite the terrible things they've experienced. I could just go on and on. The miracles happen, and when we hear them and people share them in a text, an email, a letter, or they reach out and tell us on social media, I always sit back and I feel this gratitude that I'm like, you know what? Somebody there did some hard work. Somebody put in all the effort they had to get to this point. But I know that person is so lucky they had individuals in their life who learned how to help. That had they not, this person wouldn't be sending a celebratory thing, celebrating a wedding, a reunion. It's the family. And it's okay. If the person can't even remember or recognize all the work the family did, it's okay. But what it did to heal the family is just so incredible. I love it. I love it. I could go on and on with these examples, and that just is the why right there.
It is. I really do think it's one of the most magical things. Sometimes there's a song that I love called House of Miracles, and I think about that with Danny and I sometimes, and how it's such a reflection of like our life and then what we unknowingly built together. Because, I mean, truly, I experienced some very significant miracles before meeting Danny in my life that allowed me to just, that kept me alive, honestly. And then Danny's recovery is an actual miracle. And then we and our little broken selves decided to join together. And I felt like ever since then, we've been building this house of miracles, and we get to be a part of so many, big and small, little things that happen within families that don't seem too significant on the outside, that are just massive, massive miracles. And I'm just, again, I'm so grateful for it. It's beautiful.
It helps every time we get one of those letters and she's like wishing she would have married a thug or someone that makes a lot more money. I'm like,
Not
hey,
a
look at this
pioneer.
letter. Are you proud of me now?
Not a pioneer.
Oh my gosh.
Guys, there were some
This is
really
trauma. I
amazing
experienced trauma today.
pioneers.
You know what I'm just now thinking about? Because I want you to read this and read what you had, because this is really going to be cool. I think about the miracle that happened in our own home. I think about the miracle of how it's continued to elevate my recovery, but most of all, our relationship and the children in our home. You guys, our home is so insane. It's okay. Like some days are great. Other days I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm like, we are not going to make it.
But our kids have learned to live the mantra to which we live in our life and our business, that our secrets keep us sick. Mm-hmm. Whether they make serious mistakes, whether others make mistakes and wrong them, whether they experience emotional trauma or other, they talk about it. And it's a real testament to like what recovery can do. It can be the greatest blessing that allows families to change and evolve and do these hard things, to stop hiding and being scared from them for all the reasons that we do.
Yeah.
So it can be a real gift. It really can.
I love that. And that is absolutely the truth. Okay, I'm going to read something. It's a little bit long. It's a poem called Holes. I've read it before on another episode, but as I read it today, I want you to think about yourself in this poem instead of your addicted loved one. Okay? It's easy to put them in this place, in this hole, but I really do, as I read it, I want you to think about your experience with your loved one's addiction as you being the person in the hole. Okay? So, it's called Holes, and I'm just going to read it. I had been in that hole for a very long time, in the dark and the damp, in the cold and the slime. The shaft was above me. I could see it quite clear, but there's no way I could ever reach it from here. Nor could I remember the world way up there. So I lost all my hope and gave in to despair. I knew nothing but darkness, the floor and the walls. Then off in the distance, I heard someone call, "Get up, get ready. There's nothing the matter. Take the rocks and old sticks and build up a fine ladder." This had never occurred to me, had not crossed my mind, but I started to stack all the stones I could find. When I ran out of stones, then old sticks were my goal. For one way or another, I'd get out of that hole. So I soon had a ladder that was sturdy and tall, and I thought, I'll soon leave this place once and for all. I climbed up my ladder. It was no easy chore, for from lifting those boulders, my shoulders were sore. I climbed up the ladder, but soon had to stop, for my ladder stopped short, some 10 feet from the top. I climbed back down my ladder, and I started to cry. I'd done all I could do. I gave my best try, and in spite of my work in this hole, I must die. And all I could do was sit and think, why? Was my ladder too short or my hole too deep? Then way up high came a voice, "Do not weep." And then faith, hope, and love entered into my chest as the voice said to me that I had done my best. He said, "You've worked very hard and your labor's been rough, but the ladder you've built is at last tall enough. Do not despair. You have reason to hope. Just climb up your ladder. I'll throw down my rope." I climbed up the ladder, then climbed up the cord. When I got to the top, there stood the Lord. I couldn't be happier. My struggle was done. I blinked in the brightness that came from the sun. I fell to the ground. His feet did I kiss. I cried, "What can I do to repay thee for this?" Then he looked all about him. There were holes in the ground. They had people inside and were seen all around. There were thousands of holes and were damp, dark, and deep. Then the Lord turned to me and said, "Feed my sheep." Then he went on his way to help other lost souls, and I got right to work, calling down to the holes, "Get up, get ready. There's nothing the matter. Take rocks and old sticks and build up a fine ladder." It now was my turn to spread the good word, the most glorious message that man ever heard, that there's one who is willing to save one and all, and we've got to be ready when he gives the call. He'll pull us all out of the hole that we're in and save our souls from death and from sin. So do not lose faith. There is reason to hope. Just build up your ladder. He'll throw down his rope.
Well, I love that you, at the beginning, stated what you did was for them to think about themselves. Today in group, a woman shared a side-by-side of her husband. And on one side was a beat-up man. He actually had a big gash in his face during the depths of his alcoholism. He had a big black eye. And then on the other side, the side-by-side, on the good side, was her and him. And he looked extremely healthy, color and light in his eyes. And then both of them are standing outside of a temple. And obviously between those two pictures, there's a big story. But what's something powerful, and I love this woman, and she shared is, we see that picture on the left. We see these side-by-sides, these transformations. But she's like, do you know how beat up his face looks? She's like, I felt even more beat up inside. She's like, if someone could have seen my insides, I was way more beat up than what they could see.
Absolutely.
In his appearance. And as you read that, it described that's why. And it goes back to the very first thing we started in this episode. That's the why. That's our why. Why we created this the way we did. It's because families get beat up right along with them. And often we can't see it, right? It doesn't manifest the same way outwardly, but that's how we all feel on the inside.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's crazy. And I do think it's really common for us to not to just focus again on that sick person, but to be able to honor yourself in your journey of being beat up in it and acknowledge the need for that help, that gap, right? From the top. It's like you can only do so much and then you need support. And I'm not trying to position Danny as the savior in any way, but I am trying to draw light to the fact that sometimes our effort can only get us as far as it takes us, and then we do need a bridge to take us to the other side. And that comes in this regard in a community full of support and a program full of all the right tools to help you get that last 10 feet.
Well, people, we pray. We pray for miracles. We plead for help and guidance. And do we see when he sends the boat? Like, that story about the boat? And
Yes.
A guy keeps praying for a miracle in the flood, and he sends a boat and then a helicopter. And
yeah. He's like, well, I was waiting for Jesus.
He uses us, each other. And we all play a critical role in helping each other in different circumstances in life. It does help when someone like myself or someone else that you find and can trust can to help you understand from experience. That have been there and they know the critical role the family played. They know what it's going to take. They understand the challenges ahead. The reality is we just got to stop doing it alone. And I hope that's what this whole pioneering thing is. If I'm going to be a pioneer, we're going to never get over that. It's traumatized me.
I'm going to show Danny some really handsome pioneers.
It's okay. I have great hair. If you can't see
do. And it would have been sad if you were a real pioneer because you would have worn a hat all the time.
Oh my gosh. This shouldn't be pioneering effort. This should be the solution. And as soon as it takes hold, oh my gosh, we are drastically changing.
Amen.
Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, let's share the serenity prayer.
Wow.
Will you say it?
I'll say it.
Yeah.
God, grant me the serenity to accept that I cannot change other people, the courage to change the person I can, and the wisdom to know it's me. Thank you for being here. Reach out. Let's start doing this one family at a time, and the domino effect's going to happen. There's no stigma. There's no shame. Every single home is affected by this one way or another. It's the brave ones who stand up and show others the example. We don't do this alone anymore. We as a family get ourselves tools and help and support. We address what is difficult, and everyone else is going to follow suit. We love you guys. Thank you for being here and supporting us.
I have an ask.
Oh.
Be in honor of our 100th episode.
Oh, yeah.
Share a way to say thank you to us before, if you enjoy our content, is to post on your social media what your favorite episode is, or just post our podcast. If you just love the podcast and you don't want to post your favorite episode, post our podcast and share the love.
Yeah,
Help
we put
us.
a lot of time and resources into this, not to guilt you at all, but that would be nice.
Yeah.
Nice way to say thanks.
Yes.
And reach out. Let us know if there's other things that we can address that will help some of you out there. We're here for you. There's power in community, so don't do this alone anymore. Love you guys.